been so much focus on Nvidia's outsized influence on the market and the fact that Nvidia has really been driving the gains. Walk us through your current thesis and why you see the sentiment starting to shift just a bit.
Hey, Shauna, thanks for being here. Okay, so regarding Nvidia, what our focus here is not that they're not in a really good position to grow. Consensus expectations for 2025 are for 40% earnings growth. We don't doubt that. But what we're looking at is the pattern over the past 15 months, going back to May of 23, when they first gave us a significant upside surprise and guidance raise. What's happened since then is that they've continued to raise guidance with each quarter, but that stair-step function is decelerating. So what we're looking at here is a lessening rate of incremental increase on the heels of the performance that the stock has had over the past year and even year to date. We suspect that what this tells us is that it's still a really important stock for index direction. At 6% plus of the index, it's going to be. But in terms of the more significant upside that it's contributed to the S&P, we think that certainly lessens from here.
Talk about a plot twist that could leave even the most seasoned investors wide-eyed. Nvidia, a titan of the tech world and the undisputed king of the AI boom, has rattled analysts and experts everywhere when it announced an eyebrow-raising $50 billion share buyback program, a number that confused and annoyed analysts since it was revealed weeks ago during the second quarter earnings report, and now they know why. And yes, absolutely, you heard that right. We just said $50 billion. This isn't just your standard buy low, sell high strategy we see on Wall Street every other Tuesday. No, this is, according to analysts and experts, Nvidia making a strategic power move. But what's the real story behind it? How did these analysts uncover something that could be so uncouth coming from Nvidia? With insiders selling stock like hotcakes and share prices soaring to almost whimsical heights, is this buyback a genuine vote of confidence from Nvidia's board, or just a dazzling performance of smoke and mirrors? Before we dive deep into the rabbit hole, and we shall do that to understand the context and have an eye for the future, let's put Nvidia's latest jaw-dropping revelation into a manageable context. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
Okay, and so if it does lessen from here, then where some of the other, especially as a lot of investors are trying to chart out where the dip buying opportunities are, where would they be apt to perhaps look at some of the repositioning and look at those buying opportunities if there was more of that dip that certainly does occur as we're in September, where everybody's thinking about the September effect?
Right. Well, I think from point of reference would be what happened from the middle part of July to the early part of August, where you saw tech and this Mag 7 cohort come under pressure. When we got down towards those 5,200 levels, Brad, what we suggested at that point was that the setup was that you could begin to play, quote, growth as defensive around concerns of economic weakening. So you give us, sort of another version of what we just been through. We think that's a pretty good playbook for how we're seeing it set up right now. That kind of plays to our broader S&P call, that we're not aggressive at 5,600. That's our year-end target. But as you get down to 5,200, your risk reward begins to get much more attractive going into the year-end.
Nvidia's rise to being the crown jewel of the AI realm is not without merit. For the past 2 years, artificial intelligence has been the buzzword echoing through every investor's meeting. AI's vast potential, from autonomous driving to sophisticated predictive analytics, has been the golden goose of Wall Street. The reports from PwC set the stage, predicting a 15.7 trillion addition to the global economy by 2030, solely from AI at the forefront of this revolution, Nvidia, with its groundbreaking AI graphics processing units, which became the go-to for businesses looking to drive generative AI solutions. In the last 6 quarters, Nvidia saw massive sales growth. Let's not forget the staggering 122% growth in its fiscal Q2 of 2025, totaling just over $30 billion in sales, a quantum leap from the $6 billion it clocked during Q4 of fiscal 2023. Demand was so high for their GPUs, specifically the H100 chip, that the forthcoming Blackwell chip is already sold out till 2025, even before its debut in the first quarter of next year. Nvidia's pricing power? Absolutely out of this world, with premiums ranging between 100% to 300% over competing chips. business eagerness to pay this high price points to Nvidia's honed control over the market, further magnified by a phenomenal expansion in its adjusted gross margin by over 10 percentage points. But wait, here comes the catch: a $50 billion share buyback. But before we go any further, if you want to keep up with Nvidia's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates.
Mad dash in, talk a little Nvidia. Jensen Huang, of course, the well-known CEO, founder of the company, going to be a guest at Goldman's Communicopia conference. Right. I believe, Jim, on stage very early in the morning Pacific time with David Solomon, the CEO of Goldman Sachs.
And there's very specifically, I want to talk about the problem of Nvidia. There's a lot of the network's kind of view that I heard yesterday was a slowdown. That's just not true. There is no slowdown. But what there is a complication. This new chip's very, very powerful, really hard to make. But there's a couple of releases today, really good release from Oracle and Nvidia together, talking about, and this is the complication, AI supercomputer, the largest in the cloud, to deliver up to 131,072 Nvidia GPUs to enable customers to build, train, and inference AI at scale. Now we're all over our heads. See, now we're all trying to figure out what do you do with that. Like, I immediately shot a memo, a series of questions to NVIDIA saying, well, what does that mean? And when you don't know what it means, and I've spent 12 years trying to understand NVIDIA, then what are the people going to do is like, we will own it because they just hear that it goes up. We are now in a moment where NVIDIA is too hard for most people to understand. And we need Jensen to explain it. And why, if that's late, what does that mean? So I say that we're at a moment of confusion in NVIDIA, not a moment of slowdown.
But didn't they give a bit of an explanation during the earnings when they discussed and gave a little detail around Blackwell and why it was going to get up to full production? Not too long. Right,
and that's important. Like, for instance, we found out that sovereign users want it. But more importantly, I mean, you look at it and you can say, okay, well, I don't know exactly what it does, but boy, does Larry Ellison want it. And Larry at Oracle really wants it. Oracle wants to be involved with the NVIDIA supercomputer. That's the term we should be using, not even platform, just a supercomputer. But I just pointed out because, David, until all the people who don't understand what NVIDIA does get out of stock.
While such programs typically indicate that the board deems its stock undervalued and aims to reduce outstanding share counts for a boost in earnings per share, NVIDIA's unprecedented announcement seemed, to put it lightly, a bit out of sync. It posed a curious contradiction given NVIDIA's standing as a hyper-growth company in the middle of the AI revolution, a company that should be, arguably, plowing every penny back into R&D. More bewildering is the backdrop against which this buyback is set. NVIDIA insiders have been rapidly selling their shares, with CEO Jensen Huang himself parting with approximately $600 million worth of stock since mid-June. Collectively, insider selling surpassed $1.6 billion over the past 12 months. Compounding the oddity, no insider has bought shares on the open market since Colette Kress, the CFO, purchased a mere 200 shares back in December 2020. And here's the irony. NVIDIA hinting its stock is undervalued stands in stark contrast to its towering trailing 12-month price-to-sales ratio. So why is NVIDIA really feeling that it's undervalued when to most analysts it has been overvalued in regards to its deliverance of all the innovation and tech that it keeps promising? Or could it perhaps be that NVIDIA is trying to play the market here and come out on top no matter the struggle? Is NVIDIA fooling everyone? Historically, only a few companies, including giants like Amazon and Cisco Systems, flirted with such high ratios. Both firms saw dramatic valuations crumble by about 90% during the dot-com bubble burst. Undeniably, the AI wave NVIDIA's riding is massive, but history has taught us a thing or two about the life cycle of revolutionary technologies. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
Research, and it's good to see you. Ben, I figure you'd have to say the stock, you could call it a bear market, I guess, although the bull market was like nothing, the likes of which we've never seen. I'm channeling Trump. But it was an amazing bull run. It's down about 23%, though. Is it in a bear market, or is this a time to actually catch is it a falling knife?
I don't think it's a falling knife, Joe, and it's good to be with you on such an important day in our history, in New York especially. I think that Nvidia right now, last year, actually, if you remember, it took a break in the back half of the year. This is more severe. I think there's some macro worries and whatnot, but the big thing about Nvidia is they're in a product transition, and the rest of semis also is absorbing the potential recessionary risks and some other things going on. So I think that in terms of Nvidia, one of the big surprises on the last call was taking gross margins down in the near term. And semi stocks that hit that usually with a gross margin bump tend to, not perform anymore for a little while until they get that going again. But I think they'll come out on the other side of that within a few quarters. And I think that'll be a big topic when he speaks later today, if folks are able to ask questions.
The hype cycle, with its soaring euphoria and subsequent reality check, is a recurring narrative. Businesses currently lack definite strategies to capitalize on AI's potential fully, reflective of the early stages of a bubble. True innovation needs time to gain traction, much like business-to-business commerce did after the mid-90s internet boom. Nvidia's staggering share repurchase plan peppers this evolving storyline with a big, gaudy question mark. So, should you buy into Nvidia's soaring stock or watch cautiously from the sidelines? Given its unparalleled demand and the essence of its AIGPUS at the crest of technological advancement, it's hard to dismiss Nvidia as merely one of the many next big thing trends that have come and gone. While the stock does appear pricey, the overwhelming demand and pricing power hint at robust future prospects. It's a cautious dance between acknowledging historical patterns and considering current market dynamics. Investors eyeing long-term growth should weigh Nvidia's pioneering stance in AI against the metrics of its recent stock activities. After all, a share buyback of this magnitude signals a complex mix of undervaluation belief and insider trendiness. What's your take? Strategic masterstroke or shiny distraction? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation started. And finally, if you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen.